Well, hello, good afternoon. Welcome. We are live. I'm excited to be here with you today. And we're going to wait just a few seconds. If you're watching this on a recording, you might want to skip the first 30, 45 seconds because we're going to let a few people filter in before we get going. I have three stories I want to share with you today. So I think it'll be a fun time together and hopefully a time where we can all learn and grow together through the process. And we will do that as people start to filter in. I hope everyone's having a great week. I hope you are finding that accountability is present in your life. Accountability is present in your organization. And it's always great to start the day thinking about where did accountability show up yesterday and where can it show up today. So I have three stories I want to share with you. That's right, three stories. You have a job, though. Your job is to figure out how these three stories connect. How do these three stories connect? The first story involves my mother, who is about to turn 93 years old. And Mom is still getting after it pretty well. She lives in an independent living facility. She has a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom for her and 1 bedroom for Renee and I when we come visit, which unfortunately with the pandemic has not been for a while. Now, my brother, who lives in Atlanta, where my mother is, he shared with me that they were having some bug problems in her apartment. And so I called the front desk down at the apartment. I said, in the building, and it's a fairly nice sized building. And it is, let me tell you, it's a really classy place. I said, my mom's got some bug problems. Can you send maintenance up to spray? And her response was, we have a bug guy that comes in once a month. I'll put your mom on the list to get sprayed. I said, when's he due in? And she said, in the next week or so. Well, about a week or so goes by, and then my brother's over there, and this is yesterday, and he reaches out to me, sends me a text, and he says, I've already seen 3 different cockroaches in the apartment. He goes, what is going on? I said, they said at the front desk that they were going to send the bug guy over when he came by. So my brother calls down there and the lady tells him, well, the bug guy hadn't come by yet. So my suggestion to my brother was, I says, well, maybe someone in person can get a little more action than I can calling back again. So he went downstairs on his way out and went by the front desk, asked to speak to the manager. This manager was not on site. And then they said, we'll see if the assistant manager will see you. And the individual goes into the back, comes out and says, the assistant manager is doing payroll. She can't see you right now. This building is pretty much locked down. There are not a lot of people that come in, which means there are not a lot of people that come in and take the time of the manager or the assistant manager. And here's a situation where he had a problem and they weren't responsive. Okay, that's story number 1. Story number 2, we launched Pivot, our deep dive course on personal and organizational accountability about 3 weeks ago. And during the launch process, there was a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts. This was the first time we were going to launch this. I had a lot of concerns. We still had some things that we had to get together up to the last minute: workbooks, online videos, the portal, the shopping cart, everything to handle this online course. And my good friend and accountability partner, Mike, realized that I was under a lot of stress. And Mike was calling me every day to check on me, to see how I was doing. How was I feeling? How were things going? Was there something he could do to help? Was everything okay? Was I staying calm? Was I staying relaxed? And every step of the way, Mike was there. He kept in touch. He stayed in touch, and he checked in on me consistently. Not only that, my brother was doing the same thing, which was really cool. All right, that's the second story. Now, the third story, I went to see the doctor. Oh, I don't know. It's been about a year now. And I went to a doctor for my spine because I was having pain in my spine. Not only was I having pain in my spine, I was having all the back pain that there was in the world at one time in my back. I mean, it was excruciating. And so I went to see this well-renowned neurologist and surgeon, and he looked at all the stuff and and I'm in the office, and he comes into the office. I've never met the man before. All the tests have been done. He reviewed them. He comes in. Now I'm sitting on the exam table. So what does he do? He comes in and sits on the built-in desk on the other side of the room. Now, you know these doctors' offices. They're small, little, narrow. I'm on the exam table. He's across from me, just a few feet in front of me. Yes, this is pre-pandemic, so social distancing was not an issue. But he hops up there just as relaxed as can be, sits there and starts talking to me and getting to know me, what my interests are, what I'm into, talking about my back. He had a model that he showed me where the problem was, what was causing it, what were the options. The fact that he didn't want to do surgery unless he had to do surgery, things that I should be doing for my back, things that I could be doing for my back, things that I shouldn't be doing. And we talked and we talked and we talked. And I'm like, wow, this guy's not in a rush. He's not trying to move me through. He's going to stay here as long as I want him to. It was absolutely amazing. And we had this phenomenal conversation. And you know what? He gave me all the information I needed, and he told me, he says, if I continue to have any problem whatsoever, to please reach out to him. Because at this point, the problem was already somewhat healing itself. I left that office thinking this is the single best doctor visit exam I had had in my life. Now, to think a thought like that, that's pretty amazing, pretty amazing. All right. There's 3 stories for you. Let's see. Some people have logged in here, always waiting for Wednesday Nuggets from Sam. Thank you so much. You need to authorize LinkedIn to use your name so that your name will show up and I know who it is. Charles, what we're wanting to discuss? Well, I just told 3 stories. And for those of you that listened and heard the 3 stories, the question is, how do they connect? What do they have in common? We have the story about the independent living facility, the upscale independent living facility that once a month has someone come out and spray for bugs. But if there's bugs in between, it's tough luck, Charlie. We have my friend Mike and my brother Stephen, who were checking on me every day during the rollout of Pivot. And we have the doctor who, while I was there, took all the time in the world to talk about my specific health and my needs and get me on the right track. So the question is, what do they have in common? Why would I tell you these 3 stories? Why are they connected? Because let me tell you, they are connected. They're connected very heavily. And here's what it is. All 3 of those stories tell you exactly what those people believe. The story about Mike and my brother tell you what they believe about supporting their friends and people that are important to them. They tell you about what they believe about standing by someone when all hell breaks loose, having your back, being there for you. The story about the doctor tells you about what the doctor believes about his patients, the importance of their situation, the realness of their pain to them. He tells you about his focus, whether his focus is on how quick can he get in and get out of that exam room. And you, like I, have been in doctor's offices where that's exactly what they do. They're in, they're out, they want to move to the next one. The clock is running. You know what he believes about that philosophy. You know what he believes about how much time he should spend with the patient. And then the long-term care facility that my mother is in. What do they believe about the importance and the health and taking care of their residents? What do they believe about being responsive? What do they believe about dealing with the families of the loved ones of the elderly people who are living in this independent care facility? You know what they believe based on the actions of that organization and specifically of that assistant manager when my brother went to the front desk. And so, what does this all tell you? It tells you this, that everyone you interact with knows what you believe based on your actions. And my question for you is, have you determined what your values are? And are your values, your stated values, really your values? Now, when I say, are they really your values, I mean, are they showing up? Now, I'm sure that if you go to the website of the organization that owns that independent living facility, then you know what? You're going to you're going to see all kinds of wonderful, fuzzy, feel-good values for the organization. But guess what? Those aren't their values. If they were their values, they would be showing up. Now, some of you might say, well, maybe that was just one individual. That was just one individual acting like that. Well, then my question for you is, why does leadership allow that individual to stay in the organization? Because if you allow someone to stay in your organization that's not living your stated values, then those values aren't your values. And literally, that means it's a lie to put those on your website. And nobody wants to do business with a liar. All right. Some comments. Let's look at the comments. And I appreciate you sharing. Adisa, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. I can feel you may not be in conflict right now with someone in a relationship before or soon. Okay, not really sure I'm understanding what that message is, but I appreciate it. What we're talking about here, quite frankly, is an alignment between your actions and your stated values. If your actions do not align with your values, they're not your values. My question for you is this: have you taken the time to determine your non-negotiable core values? A non-negotiable core value is a positive standard that respects the rights of others and is absolute. It's absolute. That means it's always in play. And if it's not absolute, it's not your value. Have you taken the time to identify them individually? Have you taken the time to identify them for your organization? And if you have, are they always in play? If I was to pop in on Tuesday morning and say, give me an example of when your values have shown up, can you give me that example? Because if you can't, they're not in play, and they need to be. And this is a great time to step back and say, I need to reevaluate. I say I value this, but you know what? It doesn't always show up. And that's where we need to change our habits, change the way that we act so that we can get it to show up. Our actions are always driven by our beliefs. Saying a value is a value doesn't make it a value. We really have to believe it. If we don't believe it, it won't show up. In the long-term health care facility, in the independent living facility, the values, whatever positive values they may have identified, weren't showing up in this situation. In the doctor's office, his value of caring for his patients, of being patient with his patients, of taking the time, of recognizing the real pain that they're in, that was evident. It was very well seen. And in case of my friend Mike and my brother Steve, their value of being there for people around them, to support them, to help them in tough times and in good times, it was obviously present in their actions. My encouragement to you today is to, Chris, you just popped in here. I appreciate that. Live them out. That's right. Identifying it is not enough. My encouragement for you is to identify them. Don't just identify a set of words. We need to have a narrative on what those words mean. There needs to be a 3 or 4 sentence paragraph that tells you exactly how to live it, if it's for you as an individual and if it's an organization, so everyone in the organization lives the value the same way. And then we need to be diligent and make sure those values are being lived consistently throughout our organization. Because if they are, then what happens is we become known for those values, and that is what helps us create an organization where we attract the best, where we keep the best, and an individual where we attract people that are like-minded to our values, so we build our network of people. Okay, let's see. Let's look down here. I want to get to any other comments today. Charles, when you speak of Subject One Friends, I can say that my most valuable asset. Your doctor took his oath seriously. He obviously cares. The nursing home is a business. Their priority obviously is not in the patient's best interest. Exactly. That's exactly it. And you know that just by their actions. Now, the question becomes, will I recommend this place of business to someone? You see, And you know the answer to this. And this is the point. Accountability always pays. Long term, you're going to build the best organization. You're going to build the best relationships. You'll build the best business. You'll build the best family when it's based in accountability. If you're worried about maximizing your bottom line this morning, this afternoon, or this week, you'll never build the best organization that you could possibly build. Charles, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. All right, we're on a schedule. And I'm scheduled to be here every other Wednesday to share with you what's going on. We'll see what's happening in the news. We'll see what's happening in my life. We'll see what projects I'm working on. And I want to share with you how to help build accountability into your life, how to build accountability in your organizational culture, and how to use accountability to leverage yourself to be the best you and build the best world. I'm Sam Silverstein, reminding you that accountability is the highest form of leadership. I'll see you next time.